change's gotta come before too long, I know. The peace has gotta come and I could be wrong, I know. But I just don't know what I can do. You don't trust me and I don't trust you. I bet you wish you did and I know I do. Why have you got secrets? Cause I know you have. If you've got something to hide then it must be bad. A change has gotta come before too long, I know. Peace has gotta come and I could be wrong, I know. But I just don't know what I can do. I bet you wish you did and I know I do. Why have you got secrets? Cause I know you have. If you've got something to hide then it must be bad. A change has gotta come before too long, I know. Peace has gotta come and I could be wrong, I know. But I just don't know what I can do. Whoa!
So so a lot of other places are discussing really pretentious. At Wall Street Bets, it's both. Look at my money, but also look at all this money I lost. So that's like the guy's initial. This is a Business Insider article. Um, so the guy who started this, what's his name? I'm gonna say Dave Rosowski because that sounds nice. That's not his actual name. Rajazinski. This Rajazinski guy. Um, he was keen on making extra money on top of his job as an IT consultant. And he was going through all these other uh, forums um, for investment. And yeah, everyone was like really stodgy and pretentious. So he decided to go with a YOLO crowd. The group was designed for people to share investing advice, catering to those with a YOLO attitude who approach trading as they might with gambling. So this was the general theme, right? Um, and this guy didn't really expect this to take off like this. He didn't really anticipate the Occupy Wall Street, fuck the rich mentality that this would fester. Um, so he was just kind of thinking like they could make a little extra money. He didn't really expect people to uh, follow through with this, right? So, but last week this guy Roginski got a call from the short seller Andrew Left of Citron Research. No, wait, this isn't the. No, here we go. Yeah, I'm getting used to this thing. I didn't practice this part. Um, but anarchy. We build it as we go. And yeah, I have reading problems. But where'd my mouse go? All right. So yeah, he got a call from Andrew Left of Citron Research, pleading for help with this angry mob, and because apparently Reddit just harasses people directly instead of calling their senators. Um, and yeah, he's just like regretful. It's like it's no longer what it used to be. Like, oh, what did I create? Um, and then what other? Oh, so the Discord for Wall Street Bets was completely shut down. That's another part of this story that I think is worth talking about. Um, so yeah, and the thing that with this Discord that's important, it isn't that um it's not that it's like, oh, well, we shut it down because they're fucking with the market. That's not the reason they gave. Um it was because let me find the yeah, next time I'm just gonna skip with this. I'm just gonna make cutouts. I'm gonna make pictures of all the important parts. That'll be easier. Um, but no, because of hate speech. Where is it? Ooh-doo-doo-doo. Yeah, I'm not great at reading these days. Oh, I had it actually highlighted. Burp. Discord says it did not ban the Wall Street Bet server for financial fraud. Rather, it was banned because it continued to allow hateful and discriminatory content after repeated warnings. Yeah, that's the shit that's coming down with um with all of these internet purges and giving them just the authority to All right, do I have? All right, I have a microphone. I don't know how the microphone got cut. That was annoying and stupid. So apparently I've just been talking in silence. Yeah, I made the mistake of changing up to studio mode today, so I focused more on that, and I must have deleted the audio. So any of you who are watching that completely blank section of the show, thank you. Um, we're not even gonna finish talking about Wall Street bets. I'm gonna redo that as a pre-recorded video because yeah, I accidentally deleted my audio input. So next time, please throw me something in the chat on that. Um, I'm gonna do this cue again. So thank you for enduring that segment we call "If You Play Stupid Games, You'll Win Stupid, Stupid Prizes. If you play stupid games, you'll win stupid, 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 stupid prizes." All right, so that was play stupid games, win stupid prizes. All right, so next up, we're going to start talking about the global protest. This week in protest, we're bringing that back. Um, Paying attention to anarchist Twitter, you see a lot of things going around the world that no one is paying attention to. And yeah, a lot of these accounts get shut down pretty quickly. Um, so we just kind of have to rely on paying attention. Close these couple windows before going over. All right, so some action in Spain. So basically, we think there's not a whole lot of protesting going on here in America. Like there's not. It's everything's calm and quiet, but there are protests rocking off all around the world right now. That we're just not getting any of in our media. So we're gonna go see some quick footage from Spain, from Russia, crazy stuff going on in Russia, and as well as some mutual aid that is taking place. Because some of this is pretty heavy. I'm not gonna play the audio from a lot of it, but so we're gonna start with footage of fascists and police in Spain. This is, I believe, in Sabadell of Catalonia. So Catalonia is going to come in key later on when we start talking about worker co-ops. But yeah, so just fascists and cops working together in Spain. No issues there. Nothing at all wrong with that. Yep. Just same thing everywhere happening. That's what we're used to. And then we got, oh, this guy getting tased in Russia. Yeah, this one I'm not going to play the audio for because it's pretty gruesome. But yeah, there are, I guess a Russian politician was arrested, and Russians don't fucking play that game. And then I think we got another one from Russia. No, after this one, we got some mutual aid. The Maroon Movement was able to hand out hundreds of masks, sanitizers, and some of KLC's crochet hats at a monthly mutual aid benefit in what I believe Baltimore. Free food was available thanks to Be More Advocate and others. You know, these are the kind of things that we have to start doing more in collective concerted action. Like I know a few friends in town that are doing things on their own, but we have to start pooling these efforts and doing collective direct action if we're going to get as many of our friends through this crisis as possible. So in Tripoli, Lebanon, let's go to the beginning of that. We got a big march. You know, just people in the streets, just telling people they're not going to fucking take it anymore. It's a lot of people. I mean, imagine if any of our cities just had people like consistently out marching for any kind of protest. We got more of Russia. This is in St. Petersburg. They're throwing snowballs at cops, pushing them back. I believe next we have the National Guard buildup. Oh, no, this is the Russians. They're basically saying no more czars, I believe. Down with the czar. They're chanting down with the czar. They're chanting down with the czar in Russia. I mean, if you don't understand that we're in a global revolutionary period, like, you're just purposely trying to, like, not be involved at this point. So this is from Barcelona. It's a lot of people in Barcelona. So, you know, it's not just that media censorship. It means that there's people who aren't allowed to speak. It's just generally the stories like this don't get to you at all, so you don't cause much of a ruckus. Oh, this is more from St. Petersburg. This is just... That's a scary sound. Those are metal shields. But they ain't going nowhere, are they? All right, some more mutual aid that we've got going on. This is the city of Dallas, and this is shared by the Philadelphia Housing Action. So basically, they made a camp to protect homeless people. They're occupying with the unhoused because, you know, all of these people who are displaced, they have to go somewhere, you know, and they're ending up in these shanty towns and tent villages just like this. And, you know, they'll be there for a couple weeks, and then the police will come through and just kick them out and take their things, literally, or destroy their things and beat people up. We got more for Russia. This is a punk guy getting arrested. Just a little levity. And then... Oh, flaming barricades, incendiary attacks, and clashes with police in Santiago and Valparaiso. Oh man, my Spanish tongue is bad. But yeah, I mean, we've got things happening all over the world, and we need to start getting feet in the streets in this country if we're going to avoid being overrun by fascists, because it's going to happen in 2024 at this pace. The Germans didn't get Nazism because out of nowhere Hitler just got power. No, it was a slow process of this give and take between authoritarian liberals, you know, people who say all the right progressive things, but really just want more authority for the state and the government, these people make compromises with the far right and actual fascists and true ideological conservatives who want a return to absolute rule and monarchies, essentially. They give these liberals who are secret authoritarians give the fascists the tools over time to take all the power they need. Hitler came to power with the exact rule book the exact toolkit, all the things he needed for his mass repression, he was given to before he got in office by the progressive liberal asleep at the wheel Alciance regime. Not Alciance, they were trying to recreate the Alciance regime with during the Weimar Republic. And yeah, the Weimar comparisons are very contended, but I still think they hold true. And so let's end this week with protest with a little bit of levity from It's Going Down. All corporate, neoliberal, both sides nonsense. All right. So we're going to take a little bit of break and we're going to have, it looks like a longer show. I'm going to talk about this worker co-op thing versus solidarity unionism because it's been a debate in one of my worker co-op groups. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and then we are going to talk about worker co-ops, and then we'll take another quick break, and we'll start discussing this philosophy of action that's been kicking around in my head for more than a decade. So join us in a few moments, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, budding radicals and curious reactionaries. Thank you for joining us after the break. We're going to talk about a debate that's been going on between the solidarity union movement and the worker co-op movement, of which I belong to both. I started my political adulthood as an anarcho-mutualist, which in that ideology, the prime method of achieving this goal of communism now, if that's what we really look at anarchism as being, working on the institutions and the relations, the social relations that will be the end goal of communism. Um, the anarcho-mutualist believes the worker co-op is the prime uh, tool for that end. Whereas the anarcho-syndicalist believes that solidarity trade unionism and industrial unionism is really more the term, but just as we in this country have a understanding of unions, um, it's they believe the syndicalist that through a ground up anarcho organized trade union, um, that is the way to overtake the economic system of capitalism. And so this is an article that was written by some members of the IWW, and it's called "You Can't Win Without a Fight: Why Worker Cooperatives Are a Bad Strategy." And I feel a little triggered by it. I'm still trying to build a worker co-op because my friends need jobs, and unionizing is hard. I mean, it's not so hard that it's impossible, but it takes a lot of organization and planning and communication and building skills. So when I saw this, and then I saw the brouhaha that it caused in my worker co-op group, I was like, all right, this is definitely a conversation that needs to be had, and I will be trying to get a conversation going between these authors and my worker co-op group. So I'm just gonna read most of this article to you because it's really interesting. And this is written by Carmen Molinari, Alexi Owens, and Robert Fontana. Yeah, their basic argument is that worker cooperatives are not the institutions for fighting capitalism that many on the left take them to be. Illustration by M.A. Betancourt. That's actually a really nice illustration. So yeah, let's just delve into it. In a recent episode of his podcast, Democracy at Work, Marxist economist Richard Wolff argued that worker co-ops and unions should be working together to create better working conditions and prospects for worker liberation. Wolff contended that whereas labor unions bargain a better deal for workers from the employer, worker co-ops are the end goal because they are the way in which workers don't have to bargain with anybody else. Now, that I agree with that somewhat. I believe that trade unions and not trade unions, solidarity unions. Let's be clear on that. Um, and just a quick definition: a solidarity industrial union does not aim to organize one shop, one trade, among top-down hierarchical rules, where there's a group of labor organizers, your union bosses that make these contracts for you and do all this negotiation for you. Solidarity industrial unionism is where we take over the workplace and we use a modified a version of Robert's Rules of Order called Rusty's Rules of Order to make decisions as a workforce because fuck the bosses. right? Um, and when you start a worker co-op and you're not used to that mode of relation amongst your workers, you're still in that mindset of these are the bosses, these are the managers, and um, we're the people who do these jobs. Um, you People still replicate the same uh, patterns of behavior and relation that they had before under capitalism. You're not inherently because the institution of the worker co-op is flawed, but more so because we have all been indoctrinated into a hierarchical servant society. Um, and this is the trouble that I had um, in starting cooperative enterprises, be it an improv group or a proper business or um, uh, a theater or a venue or a band. You know, any of these enterprises where we're all engaging in collective work and collective labor and collective organization. You know, people are still so programmed to this mode of um, this is the group leader. They're going to do most of the work and most of the decision making, and I'm just going to do the one thing. You know, like everyone's complaint about doing group work in high school. Um, Whereas, you know, if you have a culture of making decisions together, it's easier to order how you make those decisions together. I don't know, it just sounds so stupid when you say it, but it's why it was so much easier for me to accomplish a syndicalist run worker cooperative theater collective. You know, why that improv uh, troupe was so much easier to manage than a rock and roll group, even though we're still engaged in the same collective um, creative enterprise, right? You Musicians have to learn how to play with other people. They have to learn how to listen. They need to learn give and take. But there's still an inherent leadership bias in that culture of music. Um, you know, this is the band leader. They make the decisions, they do most of the work, and they just do their one little part, and I get to do drugs. You know, that's really prevalent in a lot of groups starting out. And the ones that do seem to make it are the ones that are, you know, someone in the band has a rich dad and they know how to run their band like a business, which is not fucking fun. With the improv group, after we got through the first hurdles of figuring out how do we all share in being the boss, um, it was really fun. And then, you know, I had personal stuff that caused me to have to leave Tucson. I didn't have to leave, but I just thought it better than to have to split up all our friends because my fiance was in the improv group that, yeah, so I could be like a dick and like, well, I could leave the thing I started, or I can like ask this girl to leave the improv troupe because we were going to get married and that didn't happen, you know, so I let her keep all the friends and all that. But I know, Taco, you will get attention later. Um, but so in any case, yeah, it was a lot easier starting an improv troupe according to these principles. Um, so so part of this article draws a lot of the contradictions of the co-op movement's shining beacon, the Mondragon Corporation. Um, Now, if you argue with me on Facebook at all, I will bring up this corporation plenty, even though I know its shortcomings, because it's a good model for ownership that could really like improve society going forward if we have this culture of syndicalism. Okay, all right, we're gonna give a cat break. We'll be right back. I think she needs to go to the bathroom. All right, we're back. I'm not gonna torture my cats by. I gotta move one of the cat boxes out of here. Um, but so the Mondragon Corporation, is a success. You know, don't just yell at me. Go use the bathroom. Um, it's very successful. It's one of the few large successful enterprises. Um, but they bring up a lot of poignant points about um, how in this period all of the militant trade unions, while Mondragon was getting built in the 50s, it led to a major decline in the trade unions at that time, who were directly confronting the power of oligarchy, because that's what fascism relies on, right? Um, they got awards, business awards from Franco, for being such good little enterprising, poor people. Um, and when it comes down to it, like these enterprises that we start with this good collective intent and mindset, they still have to compete with capitalists, which means you can't have everybody be an owner. You can't have everyone be a decision maker. You can't have everybody making a living wage. And you should definitely read this full article at organizing.work, um, because they point out a few um, union organizing drives that failed and then resorted to building a worker co-op, um, which you can't blame them. I mean, my plan is, I want to build this entertainment union, and I also want to build a worker co-op within it. Um, but you need that culture first, of making decisions and syndicalism. That order and that culture of everyone being a leader and teaching other people how to be a leader. And we'll get into this when we talk about a personal philosophy of action, an action of personal philosophy. Man, that's going to be a tongue twister. Um, Stop messing with the curtain. You get out of the curtain. I got a cat in the curtain. Um, don't you mess the lights up. What have I taught you about negative attention, Taco? The budding radical's different. I yell at my cats while we talk about news and politics. And that actually kind of made my heart hurt a little bit. That cat making me angry, messing up my curtain. Yeah, I'm a little bit of I'll close the door after the break. But yeah, she's been craving attention. Um so anyway, um when they have to still compete with capitalism, you have such an imperfect um enterprise that you're really doing no better than social democracy at that point. Um, and what the argument is in this article, that only by directly confronting capitalism and subverting its means of ownership and management can we make room for worker co-ops. And I struggle with this because we still do need to work on um, the method and modes of ownership and not just management. You know, that's where I see the two sides of this. Syndicalism is a management method, whereas the co-op um, emphasis is a method of ownership, and we need both of those. So you know, like I'm gonna try and get, you know, some, if not the authors, some representative of the IWW, of which I am a member, um, and the representative from Works, which is one of the co-op groups I'm a part of, and see if we can like actively like, you know, engage this debate and see like if we can come up with solutions of how we can merge these two strategies together without stepping on each other's toes, right? Because we can't be taking good organizers off the street. You know, it's like every time someone's band doesn't work out and then they end up, well, I'll just manage other bands. You know, you were a great artist. Of course, you should be helping other artists manage themselves, but you should also be still creating good art, you know? Um, so I think that's where I'm going to stick it on the worker co-op debate for right now. If you guys have any ideas or observations that I may have overlooked, shoot them in the chat. Uh, yeah, engaging conversation is what, you know, an outlet like this is supposed to be for. So we're gonna take another quick little break. You know, get up the music, and then we'll be right back, and we're gonna talk about this project I'm gonna work on. It's a long-term project. I'm calling towards a philosophy of personal action. You know, because that's what anarchism is to me. Like Zen Buddhism, like improv comedy, it's not about holding a set of particular beliefs, even though that is part of it. But it's what do you do with those ideas and beliefs, and how do you practice them? And so I'm going to start exploring that, and hopefully get some ideas whittled out that we can make into some more structured videos. So we will be right back after this break. Welcome back, budding radicals and curious reactionaries. I am still your host, and I need to figure out those music cues better. Um, but thank you for joining us again. Um, and towards a personal philosophy, towards a philosophy of personal action. I should have rewritten that on the board. Um, when I studied improv and long form improvisation, if you're not familiar, um, it's if you're at all familiar with like whose line is it anyway, and like the party games, if you've ever taken theater, um, you might be familiar with some of the basic ideas. Um, but in the 60s and 70s, there was this basic movement created by Del Close. That said, you don't have to have all these like little games and structures. You can just do it for doing its sake, right? And you don't need to use improv just as a tool for creating more material. It can be an art form in and of itself, which is where we get the basics of long form improvisation. Um, and when I studied this art form in my 20s, uh, starting at 17, I think I first started doing improv. Um, all of the lessons I was taught in this art form mirrored perfectly with what I was studying in the any anarchist literature I was finding. Just all of these concepts fed into each other that led to a philosophy of leadership where the best leaders teach others to be leaders, to teach others how to be leaders who teach others. Um, and that's the basic summation of why I'm an anarchist, um, as opposed to any kind of leftist or um, socialist or liberal, um, because no other philosophy outside of improvisation, Zen, Buddhism, and Taoism, and some other indigenous and Eastern philosophies. Um, Nowhere in the Western industrialized world is this philosophy that everything I do should make other people better than me. Because if I can be made unnecessary and have to do less work, and they can also create other people who can make their work unnecessary, then we can all live in a better world and not have to do nearly as much work. Um, so today I'm going to focus on two, I think, very key components that I believe are mirrored in an anarchism and an improv comedy. Um, and the way I'm framing it is denial of negative realities and the creation of positive realities. That's the dual sides of what we have to do. Um, because if you focus on only a negative side or only a positive side, you're always going to have an incomplete art. You have to learn how to balance to and fro. So what do I mean by denial of negative reality? Well, at the basic level of just denial of reality, we have just saying no, right? In the sense of improv, your scene partner gives you a gift. We're at a bookstore. you're my husband, and uh, this lady just won't let us have this book. It's just a children's book, and I don't know what her problem is. And your scene partner just says no to all of that. Fred, I don't know why you keep thinking I'm your husband, but you're in an insane asylum, um, and you need to take your medicine. You know, um, it's trampling someone else's idea with your better idea, and that's kind of emblematic of the style of leadership that we're commonly taught. That a good leader is someone who takes power, and power is the ability to enact your will, right? I want it to be a scene about this, so I am making a scene about this. You're a crazy person, and I'm just going to say crazy person things about you, right? We clearly don't want that. But the ability to say no is crucial, and we'll come back to that. Um, because when we create a positive reality, it's not that we're creating something that is positive. It's we're creating something that is a positive feedback loop. And for a feedback loop to be positive, it has to be able to give itself more energy going through, but not create such a uh, an the loop can't be just so symmetrical. They're doing the same thing over and over again because we know that's just a feedback loop, right? If the loop is going to be something that grows and is self-sustaining, it has to change. That needs criticism and different information, right? So when we say we're creating a positive reality, it's not that we're never being critical of each other, right? It's that we are giving each other gifts constantly and listening to each other and paying attention to the gifts that we give each other, um, be it in a labor sense or an instructional sense or in the sense of play, like I learned in improv. In improvisation we call it yes and. You accept the reality. Yes, honey, um, we come to this bookstore all the time, and I'm just so frustrated that on our anniversary, the one book that from your childhood, would have made you just feel honky dory, and this woman won't give it to you. You know, it's it's adding. Yes, and we're adding something to this equation, to this feedback loop, to where we can go back and forth, and we don't know what we're creating here. But if we listen to each other and have a give and take of like, I'm going to let you lead, and now you're going to let me lead, and we're going to find this together, right? Um, and and that requires two key skills. A, giving yourself permission to fail, right? Uh, and B, giving other people permission to fail. Now you say, Anthony, that does not sound like a skill. It is, because we are taught in this ideology of meritocracy that any kind of failure is bad. If you are not on a consistent trajectory in your growth, if you're not constantly building growth like the stock market, you are being a failure. And there's nothing worse than being a failure. Um, and I've learned that failure is fucking phenomenal. There are so many things that I've tried and did not work out in any way. Sometimes just blowing up completely in my face, and when I can get up and dust myself off and take time to process, I learn skills and different perspectives I learned from that failure. You know, my motto has always been fuck Thomas Edison, but also it took Edison 99 filaments before he got the right light bulb. Um, and that whole process is the process of creation. Um, and when we create um, negative realities, where it's a negative feedback loop that's only serving one person, and it's just going to eventually collapse on itself. It's because that kind of leadership, like, I've got this, relies on, like, hey, this scene isn't going good. I don't trust you to have this. And I'm going to take over. I got this. I'm the savior. Just let me sit here and grandstand, and you stand back and just be funny every now and then. Right? I've seen it. I've done it. Um, it's sad to see. Sometimes people still get laughs doing it because they are funny long enough in a 2 to 4 minute scene. But over time, it just destroys any kind of group mind that you can hope to achieve. Um, and that's not to say you can't say no in creating these realities, because that's all this was. These improv games is just, I always saw it as a reality generator, and getting to play, what if the rules of life were like this? Which is why I think of it in this reality mentality. But even as we create our own realities in our day-to-day lives, and how we choose to interpret the things our scene partners give us, if we're stuck in this scene where the people who are constantly taking control of the narratives of our lives are stuck in these negative cycles, to where we can't develop group mind, and that comes from this encouragement of failure, and giving each other permission to fail, because we have this together and we'll learn our way through it. So it's that prime decision, the prime difference between yes and or not that. We've all had bosses who can't quite tell you what to do. They can just tell you what not to do. And I have been that director, because sometimes I just don't know what I want you to do. But you feel the effects when it's not in a way that is trying to encourage you to find something better. Like, hey, I don't know what you're doing. Like, just try something different. Like, I don't like that at all. Please just do anything different, and we'll find something that works. Is a way to be critical, be negative, but still give that person the freedom to create their own thing. The yes and, you know, and when you create that group mind, that's what enables people to all take leadership, you know, and that's what we're really trying to get to, with anarchism, is that, again, cycle of the best leaders teach others to be leaders, and teach others to be leaders who teach others. So that's about where I'm at with that current line of thinking. Where I'd like to start taking this series and overall of building this culture of personal action, anarchism, improv zen, whatever you want to call it, this culture of teaching everyone these skills, I'd like to start interviewing other radicals, anarchists, um, about what it feels like. How do you practice this belief set in your day-to-day life? Because I know if I didn't learn improv skills, like I was super awkward, before I started doing improv. I didn't know how to talk to people at all. I was just fucking weird. Um, but when I learned all of these skills and ways of analyzing relation and behavior, and status, most importantly, I didn't even get into how status is involved in all of this. Um, but it wasn't until then that I learned how to actually start engaging with people and really communicating with people. If I didn't do improv, I would have probably ended up dead in the gutter because I was losing my mind and I couldn't communicate with people. So if you know of a bread tuber, any left tubers out there that I may not be watching, that you think I should interview for a series of like this, of what it feels like to be an anarchist, uh, please, hit me up, shout something in the comments, and yeah, I would love to get started on that as soon as we can. And this Wednesday, we're gonna do another live audiobook recording. I'm gonna pick an IWW pamphlet to start, and yeah. So you guys have a good week, and we will see you next week.